Fuck God. Alrighty. Welcome to episode 3. We're back, it's just me and Brian again. Website, mooseknucklepodcast.wordpress.com has links to all our other crap, Check it out, tell other people about it. We'd really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
We're up to a little over 10 downloads per episode now, so I don't know who all these 10 are, but
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for listening. This episode, did that start? I can't tell. Say something, Brian.
Well, he's fiddling with the damn timer. I say just talk, but that's me.
Yeah. But so right now when we're recording this, we're about a week away from the I guess we are a week away from the AFC and NFC championship games.
Yes.
And Brian is a Seattle fan.
I was born there. I represent. I'm from 12th Man Town, dude. Don't hate because we have the most avid fans, and your team has Roethlisberger, the rapist.
The most what? Super Bowls? I remember.
Oh, yes. That's exactly right. You're also the biggest cheaters, minus Bill Belichick and the greaseball Patriots. That's right, Bill. If you're hearing this, you are the greasiest motherfucker I have ever seen on TV. You are so greasy. We have come in my circle of friends to the conclusion. We have found your secret. You travel with 55-gallon drums of crude.
The only way
you bathe in them. That's how greasy you are, Bill.
The only way he's hearing this is if we kidnap him and force him to hear it.
I don't give a shit. Bill Belichick's a greasy motherfucker. Yes. Is he maybe the smartest man on the planet when it comes to football? I will give him that. He's definitely in the top 3. He's in the argument.
All he does is study football and cut the ends off his sweatshirts, so he has looser sleeves.
And cheats. And I don't think he's bathed in weeks.
Speaking of that, before we move on to what you were going to talk about with the Saints and whatnot, the argument I always have to have with Patriot fans about their supposed almost perfect season, I'm like...
They lost the only game that matters?
No. How is it a perfect season if you get caught cheating in the first game?
Precisely. Once again, this goes along the lines, it rolls right into Bill Belichick's greasiness. And this is the best part. He said, I didn't know it was against the rules.
That's my favorite part. So he wasn't doing it, but he says, well, the people who are doing that, because, okay, we're going to get super deep here. What he was doing was every NFL team has like 2 dudes on the side. Actually, there's probably about 3. There's one dude who has he'll be holding different signs, different pictures, different colors, something, and 2 other dudes doing hand signals. And this is supposed to signify a play. They call it for example, if you're using...
It's like in baseball where they do all these weird movements to talk. And it's a weird form it's a bizarre form of sign language in which people on the team know, okay, we're doing double slot left.
Yeah, they'll hold up a picture of LL Cool J and the other 2 dudes will be doing jumping jacks, and that means button hook pass.
Yeah.
Or some stupid shit like that. Either
ISO
way,
right.
Yeah. The rules committee essentially made it illegal for you to videotape those signals anymore. You couldn't do it. And they used to have people on their staff that was one of their main jobs. So Belichick got caught doing this in the first game, and he said he didn't know he couldn't do it. And I'm like, you of all people, if you told me, what's his name from the Jets, Rex Ryan, if he said he didn't know, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
That motherfucker seems like he only knows about really the O-line. I know I'm trying to talk shit about the Jets, but I believe he was an O-line player, and that's what he knows, and he's the head coach. I'd buy that. Bill Belichick, I don't buy that shit for a fucking minute.
No.
He was trying to get away with some cheating.
No, exactly. That's like saying Michael Jackson didn't know basic music theory. You know, it's like the man who sold more records than any other person on the planet. Thriller, the all-time highest-selling album. The guy can't sing a tune. No, I don't believe that for 1 second.
And on
that Bill
on
Belichick
a quick tangent, for those of you who don't know, Thriller, one album alone sold 400 million copies.
Huge,
the highest selling ever.
Huge, destroyed every other album by every other artist in every other genre by a landslide.
But anyways, back to the argument I always have is, so he got caught cheating the first game. They're like, I wasn't cheating, blah, blah. That's because it's your team and you're writing it off. And you can't, and they always try to say, well, he didn't know. Bullshit, he didn't know.
Yeah.
It's fucking Bill Belichick. That dude, he knows all the little stupid bullshit rules about everything.
Bill Belichick is so knowledgeable about football that he could go in a football trivia game against God, and I don't know who would win. It would be really close. It would have to go into like super sudden death, extra secretive, double jeopardy points. That's how close it motherfucking would be, because that's how intelligent, greaseball-y as he is. That's how great Bill Belichick's genius is. Another thing I have to say about football, real quick.
Oh, hold on. I should mention Brian's cousin did play in the NFL.
Yeah, has 3 Super Bowl rings. So
yeah,
was quite possibly the.
So it's not like he's just talking out of his ass.
No, quite possibly the one of the most talented and highly decorated offensive linemen to play the game, at least in the last 20, 30 years. My cousin Mark also is now a football analyst for ESPN. So
I did see him on TV the other day making fun of Andrew Luck. Or no,
Andrew Luck.
Philip Rivers.
Philip Rivers?
I get he was wearing some ridiculous one of those
bolo ties.
Yes.
Yes.
And he was making
Philip Rivers. Hey man. Philip Rivers is a hick. He's a redneck.
Well, your cousin's making fun of him.
Yeah. Well, you know, my cousin's wife dresses him, so he really doesn't have a lot of room to talk. Mark, I'm sorry I had to throw you under the bus there. If or when you hear this, I got nothing but love for you, bro. But it's true, your wife does dress you, and I've seen you more than once with what you would probably call a salmon tie, but I'm sorry.
I've seen him in many different.
Yeah, his wife dresses him.
Oranges, pinkish shirts and ties.
His wife dresses him. Now, don't get me wrong. Lisa, his wife, is a very fashionable, knowledgeable woman when it comes to that whole area. She knows how to put herself together. She looks damn good. Mark, I'm not hitting on your wife. That's gross. She's my cousin. Pineapples, it's gay. But
wait,
I'm just simply
pineapples, it's gay.
Yeah, stop. That's gay. Pineapples. It's my safe word. You never. Kevin Hart. You know, fucking. His wife dresses him. So really, when he's making fun of Philip Rivers' bolo tie. I mean, come on, man. You're in your late 40s.
He'd be worse
50s.
if he wasn't being dressed by a woman who had style.
Exactly. So really, Mark, you don't have a lot of room to talk.
He'd be showing up on TV in fucking wrinkled sweatpants and white wife beaters with mustard stains on them.
Well, I don't know about that bad, but he definitely is one of the sharper dressed gentlemen that he works with, and that's because of his wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
has a lot of swag and a lot of style.
I did it again.
Yeah, it's something we're gonna have to work on. Okay, for everybody out there in podcast land, my bro Hunter, he's a damn decent individual, but he has this whole thing that he does, and I also believe that it has to do with the fact that he doesn't have a hell of a lot of time around microphones and doesn't understand microphone etiquette as well as some folks do. If you don't live behind a mic, you don't.
It's a process.
Yeah, it's like anything. You got to learn how to do it right.
Mm-hmm. But I'm working on it, people. So
just takes time, like anything else.
Eventually, I'll
time, effort, and the need and want to get better.
Well, it can't be the worst thing I've done on here because there was an episode where by the end of our recording, I was pretty drunk and I hit my teeth on the mic when I was bringing it back to my face. So,
but that one didn't feel too hot.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, I'll say a little.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But, all right, but back to football.
I believe you're going to say something about the Saints and
yes. So the Saints today. Don't get me wrong, I like the Saints. They're one of my favorite teams, but not when they're playing against Seattle and not when it's the playoff game. The Saints, they were only, I believe, a touchdown. It was only a 7-point differential at the end of the game, but pretty much the whole game the Saints got dominated. They didn't score till the second half.
Yeah, I believe at halftime it was 16-0.
Yeah, they didn't score till the second half, and I'm going to give the Saints all the credit in the world. They played a damn better game than they did the first time around, and their defense was stellar against Seattle. In Seattle, which is, it's tough to do. I mean, 12th man town's no joke, but
yeah, their defense actually didn't do that. Their defense fairly physical today.
Their defense is what kept them in the game.
All right,
Drew Brees and the Saints offense really wasn't doing a whole bunch. It was the Saints defense that really was the better of the two halves of their team, and I just wanted to say something, and I'm going to talk to Mark about it, so people are going to hear about it in ESPN land instead of just in our little podcast land. But I'm going to start making some noise about it because it's bullshit, and folks need to step up their fresh.
For all of you white people out, that means get your shit together.
Yeah, step it up. Step up your game. All you rich white folks who run the NFL, you need to seriously we need to have a come to Jesus.
Look, Roger Goodell is busy ironing his ties, okay?
Roger Goodell has like 15 people iron his 2,000 ties.
I know.
Anyway, the point I'm saying is, with today's technology, and I believe anybody who has half a brain who's actually a fair to decent football fan will agree with me on this. In today's day and age, with today's technology, why refereeing isn't in the 99 percentile for accuracy with the amount of money that the National Football League generates annually, which is big numbers, big numbers. Why they are not in the 99% percentile range for accuracy blows my mind and is a travesty to the game of football.
But I guess my question would be about that is, does that really have to do with the reffing themselves or the way some of the rules are set up?
I mean, don't get me wrong, some of the rules, especially with protecting the quarterbacks, seem a bit anti-defense and a bit pro-offense, but since every team has an offense, every team has that distinct, I think, call advantage towards offense.
Well, here's an example. I was talking to Steve and one of the other guys he works with the other day, and Steve could, jump in here if he wasn't such a wet bitch and not here.
Fuck you, Steve.
But so that the Ed Hockingley, the dude we were talking about during the break, somebody went to throw a pass, and I believe, it was when he was already in motion, and they hit his arm, so it was technically a fumble. But he blew it dead, he blew the whistle and blew the dead play as an incomplete pass.
Right.
But the other team recovered the fumble, but because of the way the rules was set up, he couldn't review the play and essentially overrule his call.
See, that to me is bogus. That's one of the things I'm talking about, and that's a really good point that you make. And I'm going to talk to my cousin, Mark, the ESPN guy, because I just don't get it. Why? Now, I understand you have to have referees, so there's going to be...
You'll remember this, even though it was I think in your favor was last year the supposed touchdown catch that got Seattle into the playoffs. I believe it was against the Packers.
Yeah.
That was not a catch. But I believe they did change the replay rules after that because of that, essentially.
Well, see, now don't get me wrong. Obviously, there's the human factor involved, so you're going to have error because we're humans.
Right.
We make mistakes. But with the 100+ cameras that are on the football field recording everything that has to do with the football game,
right,
plus the people up in the box, why there are bad calls? Like today in the Saints game, there was a fumble. It was a definite 100% fumble recovered by Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And the refs made a bad call. The dude who recovered the fumble on Seattle, I can't remember his name, he flipped out, got pissed off, and got a personal foul called against him, hence making it impossible for the challenge to come up, because he got heated with the referee that the referee made such a bad call. Now,
I know this is pointless, but it wasn't it was
a personal foul.
Are you sure
it's unsportsmanlike conduct?
Yeah, say that's what it was, right?
Yeah, it was an unsportsmanlike conduct call on the guy, because you're in a playoff game, it's a heated thing. Right. He legitimately did recover a fumble.
Right. So what was the deal? Did they try and rule the player down due to like a knee or something?
Yeah, they said it wasn't a fumble. Said player gets heated.
They said the player was already down before he lost the ball.
Right, which clearly he was not. He had tripped, but no one had touched him, and his knee had not hit the ground.
Right.
And then he dropped the ball, and anyway, it was a bad call. There's been a couple of bad calls today in football. And for me, with all the money, I mean, I don't know. We'd have to look it up, but our computer systems are a bit on the malfunctioning side tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Usually we can remedy this. We can give you actual facts, but tonight we're having a little bit of an issue. So with the billions of dollars, fuck facts for tonight. For the billions of dollars, and I'm not sure the number, someone out there in podcast land can look it up, that are generated by the NFL.
Right.
To not progress the technology involved in making sure that the game is played properly and that the right calls are made is asinine. It's stupid. It hurts the game. It loses fans. Prime example, the worst refereed game I ever seen, and yes, I am a Seahawks fan, and yes, Hunter is a Steelers fan, and yes, I'm going to talk about that Super Bowl a few years back, because I don't care who you are, if you're a Packers fan, if you're a Saints fan, if you're a Steelers fan, if you're a Seahawks fan, if you're a Redskins fan, if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, if you watch that Super Bowl and you know anything about football whatsoever, that plainly and simply was an abortion of a game. The refereeing on both sides of the ball, yes, I said it was an abortion. It was like watching a train wreck. You couldn't take your eyes off of it. It was like the worst movie you ever saw in theaters, and you're like, no, we have to stay because it can only get better. And it doesn't. Yeah.
Speaking of abortions, though, we have to bring up how you changed that bumper sticker real quick.
How I changed the bumper sticker?
The one on your aunt's car after you bought it.
Yeah.
So it was one of those ones that says an abortion stops a beating heart.
Yeah.
And Brian tried to take it off his bumper, but to no avail. So he just he essentially cut it enough that the bumper sticker now read, "An abortion stops a beating."
Yeah. I thought it was fairly clever. It's good shit. We should have taken a picture of that.
Yeah,
that was genius. Yeah, but it bums me out, man, because I like football. I think it's a hell of an entertaining game to watch, and it doesn't matter if. I mean, obviously, I'm going to be upset if my team loses, But what really chaps my ass, and it doesn't matter if it's a call like last year with the touchdown catch that wasn't really a touchdown catch that got us in the playoffs or whatnot. Right. It hurts the game that I really like to watch when you have referees making blunders. And it seems that ever since that Seattle Steelers travesty of a Super Bowl, which was the absolute worst refereed game I had ever seen in my entire life. There were shit calls on both sides of the ball the whole game. You know it. I know it. Anybody who doesn't have their head up their ass or live in a cave.
Here's the thing. I agree there's terrible calls, but I also still think the Steelers would have won the game.
See, I'm not debating that. The Steelers got the ring. That's fine. That's their last Super Bowl ring that they have. It's the last time they went to the show, and they've progressively sucked dick since then. Amen.
Oh,
amen.
Really?
Amen. Okay,
they're not doing great, but they are not. They are far from the worst team.
I'm just gonna say the playoff game against Tim Tebow where he threw over 300 yards on your ass. Tim Tebow, Tim Tebow could throw a bowling ball through glass, and he threw for 300 plus yards on the best defense that year in the league. He picked you guys apart, made you look like shit. I'm not talking about that though. I didn't really want to talk about this because I knew it was just going to be like, well, Steelers are the best team in the world because we have the most Super Bowls, blah blah blah. No, nigga, I'm not talking about that. What I'm trying to tell you is this. Degrades football as a whole.
No, I hear you because I mean,
and it saddens me because it's like they try to do all these things for football, but it's like, for fuck's sakes, why are there shitty calls?
No, I hear you because I'm not into. I watch a fair amount of football. I'm not into it as much as you. I am into MMA though at a level that you are into football, and whenever a decision is made, essentially the fight goes the entire length and they go to the scorecards and it goes to someone who clearly lost the fight.
Yes, another prime example. It does bad things for the sport.
Yeah.
As a whole, it takes away. It
may have even prompted certain fighters to give up their title.
Yeah. We're not talking about any Canadians or anything like that.
Not at all.
At the 170-pound level. Got your ass whooped, GSP. You got your ass whooped, and you know it. Anyway, but that is a really good point that you make. And once again, with today's technology, what I don't understand is why it seems that all these individuals who are in charge or in administrative positions in these different sport leagues, whether it be fighting or football or baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, whatever. With today's technology and the ability to super slow motion everything, and God knows the good Lord would have to use a second hand to count how many cameras are on a fight or on a football game or on a baseball game. I mean, there's hundreds. It's ridiculous.
When we go to, if we want to kind of compare fighting to football, one of the problems with fighting is essentially all the reffing in the, at least as far as I know in the United States, I'm not sure how it works.
Is it different
if they
by
fight
state?
Outside the United States. No, it's all based on the Nevada State Athletic Commission. The boxing commission in Nevada essentially does it all for the entire country.
Yeah, but boxing's different than mixed martial arts completely.
Yeah, so, but that's part of the problem.
Yeah,
that's what they're under. And they just only finally recently let them use monitors, but it's not even monitors for replay. It's just to watch the fight. So it's even worse than football. That's what I'm saying, though. Compared to football, the refs are, paid and hired by the NFL. What do you call it? Bureaucracy.
Right.
So they at least have a say where they can say, yes, we're giving you this technology and this power and this leeway, but they don't.
Yeah, I don't understand the old school archaic. It's like using analog when digital is so much better for so many other reasons, unless you want to get a certain sound or something. It's like basic TV to cable. You know, I mean, it's we're in the 21st century, ladies and gentlemen. We need to make sure that everything that we do sports-wise moves along with technology, because if you don't, what you're doing, like you're talking about, especially with fighting, and from what you just told me about the Nevada Boxing Commission, is it hurts the sport.
Yeah.
And when it hurts the sport, not as many people are going to follow it, which means, yeah, you may save a dime by not instituting the $1 million a year or the $1 million.
I think maybe the difference is that gives me hope for football is they have the rules and regulations committee.
Right, they're constantly trying to evolve the game properly.
Which mostly has a lot of coaches on it, and that's actually why you see some progression in football.
Right, they're proactive instead of reactive.
Right. Well, at least the guys on the committee are guys who would get upset by the bullshit calls.
Exactly, because it negatively affects their teams.
It's not dudes who are trying to protect their jobs per se, like it is in MMA.
Right.
Like no, we're infallible.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean it boggles my mind. There should be in every fight. I'm just going to use MMA. In every fight, you should have your referees that are the old school ways, just like the referees on the field in football.
Mm-hmm.
You should also have referees that are counting, and their specific job is to look at every punch, every kick, every hold, every takedown, and they're so you have the guys right there, the men and women right there that are feet away watching it, but then you also have people who have their heads in TVs as well, so that way you have comparisons. And you know what, if it takes a little bit longer to finish a fight, to get a decision, that doesn't bother me as long as it's the right one.
Right. Well, that's one thing Dana White is trying. I don't know if he still is, but he was trying to get it instituted where if somehow a fight did come to a draw, they would go one more round, throw out all the other scores.
Right.
Whoever wins that round.
Sudden death kind of deal. Yeah. One round to see if it, to see who the real winner is. And I think that's a good idea.
I don't know whatever came of that, because there are rules, I believe, in certain states and maybe countries that have to do with the amount of minutes you're allowed to do certain physical activities, which is why Alexander Gustafsson is from I forget where he's
Sweden.
Yeah, there you go, Sweden. And he was fighting in the main event there, and for the past couple of years, they've all UFC main events are 5 rounds.
Yeah,
it was 3 rounds, and I was like, well, what the fuck? But I heard him talk about it on MMA show. It's because 5-round MMA fights are essentially illegal there due to the amount of minutes you're fighting.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
That was kind of a weird tangent.
Yeah. I mean, I understand things like that. Like if a country has a rule like that, like Sweden, you can only fight for X amount of time. Okay, I get that.
Day,
yeah,
right.
Yeah. Okay, I understand that. Whatever. But why in all these sports, especially with the technology that's come out, are refs still making blunders? I mean,
yeah,
I see bad calls and I see missed calls in sports just watching it on the couch at my house.
Granted, I don't really watch baseball because I think it's boring as shit, but they don't even use replay in baseball. The refs do not use replay,
and it blows my mind.
Why?
I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with just people's way of thinking. Like, I think a lot of the powers that be right now in our country are the old fat cat capitalists, and a lot of them don't want to have a shift of power. I believe they don't want to. Like, they're kind of afraid of change, even though change is inevitable in our life.
Yeah,
and especially
what's that quote? It's like, show me a young man who's a shit. What is it? What's the opposite of liberal? Conservative.
Conservative.
God damn, I don't remember the quote, but it's show me a young man who's a conservative, I'll show you. Oh, it's something like show me a young man who's a conservative, I'll show you someone who's naive. Show me a old man who's a liberal, I'll show you a fool.
Right.
It just, you know, you become more. You get a certain
Set
way.
in your ways, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. Some things about tradition are outstanding, and I think, in a lot of aspects in our society, I think we need to come back to being more traditional, like spanking your kids, because they're little bastards and they act out. And they fuck up my good time in public places. All you breeders.
Here, we can kind of get in this. I've been avoiding this subject a little bit.
Never avoid a subject. Talk about it.
It's well, I was avoiding it, but you're a good person to bring it up with. Because I'm an atheist. Brian doesn't like it when I say that. He always just says, because we used to have conversations about God, and I kind of drifted away from that. So he always likes to say, "No, you'll come back to it." Mm-hmm. But no, I was trying to avoid it because me, Devin, and Steve are essentially all atheists. So I didn't want to like the bandwagon. We all just. Fuck God. Yeah, so you're a good person. Brian's not necessarily religious, but he believes in the higher power is how I'd describe it.
There you go.
But so I was talking to some guys I work with a few weeks ago, mm-hmm. and he was essentially trying to argue with me about how do you have a moral, you know, where do you get a moral compass from? Where do you get your
conscience?
No, not your conscience, like
the little
your moral fiber. Where do you get it from if you don't essentially have it passed down? Because they believe in God, so from them, if it's not from a higher power, it doesn't really make sense.
Right.
And this was kind of going back to what you were talking about a second ago with the people set in their ways. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, for me, it's kind of, I'll steal a line from Penn Jillette, 'cause they always say, what's to stop you from raping and murdering? And Penn Jillette always says, I've raped and murdered as many people as I want to.
Right.
Which is not.
Yeah.
To act like you can't have a moral code as an atheist to me is ridiculous. I neither have the real knowledge or faculties to accurately argue this, but I still believe it to be true.
Right.
But the point I was going to bring up was, them I say, because they're about on the same level as I am, like even though they're religious, so we can have an actual debate, like.
Right, without people freaking out about Jesus juice and shit like that.
It's not me getting in the ring with Tyson.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's not
so
a fight,
I told them, you know, I kind of let society dictate the rules. I mean, and for example, you're a great person, Davon, because it used to be, you know, you had supposed religious people saying it was perfectly acceptable for blacks to ride on the back of the bus, separate water fountains. To me, I'm like, well, society corrected that.
Indeed.
And you act like without religion that wouldn't have happened. And I think it still could have.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I think it's a very valid point and a good discussion. For me, it's really interesting because I was force-fed the Bible growing up. And a lot of what's in the Bible, I really don't agree with. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is the #1 best-selling book of all time. It's a hell of a read. I suggest everybody read it. I also suggest everybody read The Art of War and the Quran. So maybe I am crazy. Maybe I'm not.
No, you're crazy. I've known you a long time.
All right, fair enough. I am crazy. But, you know, they said many of the greatest minds that ever lived were also crazy. But I digress. So for me, like, in the Bible, it talks about a lot of horrible atrocities.
Right.
And for me, I think there's a higher power because, well, if I didn't have someone, if there was no divine intervention, I sure as hell wouldn't be here right now. That's plain and simple. It wasn't even born breathing. So statistically speaking and scientifically speaking, I'm an anomaly from the day I was shat out my mother. Actually, wasn't shat out, was cut out. But yeah. So that being said, you know, there are things in this world, and there are things that as people like you're talking about moral fiber, your conscience. Like you wanted to start doing this because you felt like you were empty, like there was something missing, like you weren't doing what you're supposed to do. And I think it all really comes down to, like you were talking about with Joe Rogan's podcast, and how everyone tells him that his podcast fans are some of the best people. It's the love that he puts out, and it's his want and desire to be positive instead of negative. I think that comes from somewhere else. I don't think human beings naturally are good people, and especially anymore since there's more war in the world and greedier people, and the rich are just getting richer and everybody else is broke and getting more broke. And you look at everywhere. Look at CNN, look at Fox News, look at MSNBC. It's all crap and junk. There's nothing on TV that's any good. I don't really even watch television minus the History of Discovery Channel, because everything else kind of sucks.
Well, let me ask you this then. To me, I'd say a lot of those people that are causing the problems, like you were just saying about the rich get richer, a lot of them supposedly are religious people, whatever religion they may be. In this country, it's going to be Christian. Yeah. In India, you have a huge disparity in wealth, although I'm not sure what. I believe they recently removed some sanctioning that make it easier to start your own business, so they're getting more of a middle class. But they have a, greater despair than we do, and they got, and I assume all the religion. Well, I don't assume. I know a lot of the supposed really rich people over there are Hindus, Right. So they also have their own religion.
Right.
So to me, that's kind of why in a way, I don't believe in religion or a higher power.
I don't really believe in religion either.
But is that more of a corruption of the religion, and there still could be a God? Because to me, I see good people. They don't need a higher power. I think that people are rising up, and it's just, I don't know, they're realizing this is not the way to live.
Right. I agree with you. I think a lot of folks, even our other bro who isn't here this evening because he got really wasted with me last night, Evil Rum, and he didn't show up. But anyway, even people like him, like he even says now, I'm noticing in him there's some moral changes where it's like the man is wanting to be better, not just for himself, but because he wants to try to help others. Like even he said it the other night.
Yeah, he's been talking about that a lot lately.
Yeah, how like he even said it the other day. It kind of threw me off a little bit, because usually he's more of the, I don't want to say arrogant or full of himself, because he's a really fucking great dude.
No, I understand. There's definitely people we know that are not fond of him due to his attitude.
Yeah. They don't get D. And it's understandable. I mean, a lot of people don't get me or you either. So, I feel that, but
I always say, look, I'm a dick, but I'm funny. So yeah, you can say you hate me, but stop laughing, and then
love me or hate me, I am who I am. I'm not cool enough to be fake. But
I just say, okay, I get what you're saying, and I get the path you're going down. But to me, I guess my question to you would be, is that due to a higher power kind of getting him on that path? Because to me, I don't think it is, and I think you're kind of going down that path.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I think it has a lot to do personally with, like, it's kind of hard to talk about how convey what I'm trying to say. I don't like religion either. I don't believe in religion. I believe God came.
Well, that's why I use the words higher power.
Yeah, I believe higher power, God, whatever, came to man, and unfortunately, man does what man always does, which is fuck shit up. And due to our imperfections and our greed, which is one of our biggest problems as a species, they changed it and warped it, and took something that was beautiful and made it something ugly. And I think the higher power that definitely has some type of effect in our world today. Now, it says in the Bible, the Lord works in mysterious ways. I 100% believe that, because there's just some shit that happens in my life, and it's like, dude, something.
Speaking of that,
there's too many coincidences to make this thing work. There's no way it should have worked on paper, but for some odd reason, it worked. And I'm not, and I didn't go to jail, or I didn't get shot, or fucking, I still got a place to live.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Sorry, you said something that made me, I don't know if it's really a joke. I consider it a joke. And I said it to one of the kind of semi-religious dudes I was having a conversation with. And because you were speaking of kind of divine power. So my joke was, I always say, God made me an atheist, and who are you to question his wisdom?
That's a good one.
That always, and it does what I done. I like. It took him a second, then he looked at me and goes, "You fucker," and just started laughing.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, but I guess my question would be: is that power you're speaking about a divine power, or is it just a different being?
Man, I don't know. I'm going to be brutally honest. If I had the answers to questions like that, we sure shit wouldn't be here. We'd have a lot more money doing something probably similar, but getting paid, which hopefully is what this shit's going to end up doing anyway. But honestly, dude, I couldn't tell you, man, because like you look at all the things in our history, especially the farther back you go, the closer to the beginning of written languages and the older civilizations in the world. And there is some mad, crazy shit that went down. And I'm a construction worker, ladies and gentlemen, so I've see where you're going. I've been a part of $100 million plus projects. Like I do work.
Built pretty much fucking structured out of nothing in the middle of nowhere in Alaska.
Yeah, built a fucking huge building on top of a man-made island in the middle of an underground river.
Yeah,
huge building, like Costco big.
Built the fish essentially hatchery. A city north of Fairbanks. For all of you that don't know, where that is, you can Google it. But there's essentially just frozen ground there.
There's nothing.
But anyways,
there's nothing there. But to finish what I was saying, something happened, man, in our past as human beings. I don't know exactly what it was. I don't know if maybe it was the last ice age, like a natural disaster type thing, or like another dark ages brought on by like a plague. Something happened in man's past that significantly changed who we are today in, I don't want to say it's all negative way, but it definitely would change a lot of how we think,
right?
A lot of how we lived, a lot of how we interact with one another, and a lot of how we believe in. Whatever that is, are there still traces and remnants of it on Earth? Sure. I mean, it's new shit's found every day.
Well, that kind of leads to another topic I wanted to talk about. I think we'll tease it for the next podcast. And the tease is going to be, I'm not saying this is what the essentially the cause of what you were just talking about, but it could be, is recently I've seen videos of the ex-Canadian defense minister, or minister of defense, I don't know how they fucking word it in Canada, basically publicly talking about how aliens exist.
Excellent topic.
And I figure, we'll talk about that a little bit, maybe get some humor back in the next episode, this one was kind of serious. Went from sports to religion, but I think it all worked out well.
Well, I mean, it's one and the same.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other.
Yeah. This is Hunter, and fuck Devin and fuck Steve, even though they're not here.
Bastards.
And you are, sir?
I am Brian.
And one last time, I know I keep harping on it, but check out our website, mooseknucklepodcast.wordpress.com.
Yes,
like us on Facebook, share it. We'd appreciate it. There may be a day when we do ask for money, but right now we're just asking for you to share this. It's free.
It's free. Free knowledge.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Some of what I said is true. A lot of it's probably wrong, but either way, thanks for listening.
Yep.